Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Listening In. Now, in full transparency, we're not listening in to a phone call today. However, we're covering an extremely hot topic, which is AI, artificial intelligence. One thing that is really common right now is a lot of people asking AI questions and trying to figure out how to best use AI to get things done. In fact, one of our recent Digging Deeper episodes, we covered that very topic together with some experts. The thing we're going to talk about today is, what do you do when AI asks you questions? Is that happening? It is happening. And one spot where that's happening is on LinkedIn. So there's these collaborative articles that are getting pushed out to individuals who seem to be a top voice or maybe an expert in a given area. And I'm flattered, LinkedIn, because they've been pushing a lot of questions my way, and I'm sure it has something to do with the fact that I'm answering them, so it keeps pushing me more. So it is fun. A lot of controversy around it on whether or not we should be feeding AI in this way with answers, but I've enjoyed it. It's been fun engaging with people, and we're going to share some of those questions today. Let's jump to one of these questions here, and we'll get going on it. So an AI-fed question here says, what do you do if your recruiting emails are not getting responses? And anybody who's been in the space for any amount of time knows that email can be a great tool, but it is increasingly difficult to break through all the noise with email. One of the keys there, if you're not getting very many responses, is to create curiosity. So many emails that I get are just about, hey, here's all the great things that you need to know about our company and how we're helping people. It's all about them. Whereas the ones that I tend to respond to are ones that are creating that curiosity that give me a little bit, but then leave me wanting more. Hey, that looks really interesting. How can I find more about that thing? So if you want to get better responses to your emails, look for a way to give them some value, but then leave them asking more questions like, well, shoot, how does that work? Or how do I fall? How do I match up against that benchmark that you provided? The next one I wanted to talk about is, what do you do if your recruiting processes are riddled with mistakes? And the way these articles work is it kind of gives you a broad headline and then breaks it down into individual sections. And so one of these sections is train recruiters. My response to this question was basically, how do you know your process is riddled with mistakes? Well, two answers there. One, go through your own process, and we talk about this a lot, and you'll see just what the user experience is like, and you'll begin to uncover, oh shoot, we should probably tweak that thing, that automation, that email, that text, how we're responding to individuals. So that's one big way. Another big way is to go back and watch the game footage, which is really what this whole show has been built on, which is going back and listening to those recordings to find out what's going really well, right? Those patterns of positivity, something that we recently talked about, and what could maybe be better next time. So go through your own processes and review your phone calls and see what's going well and what could maybe be a little bit better next time. So that is a great way to find out what within your process could be improved to help everyone get better results. So another question that was tossed out from AI is, here's how you can effectively use new technology as a recruiter. Focus on key skills. So the piece that the more specific piece here that I wanted to break down was mobile engagement was one of the subheads. And it's really interesting because we all, I think, intuitively know that for the most part, people are interacting with content, with jobs through mobile devices. And yet, not all of these processes are built around a mobile-first strategy, which still seems really surprising that that wouldn't be the first thought of, let's build this first for mobile, and then, of course, it'll still work on desktop and other types of devices, but mobile-first mentality. So some of those little things that can make a huge impact when thinking mobile-first is there a click-to-call phone number? And once again, on this show, we break down those phone calls together. But if there's no way for there to be, no easy way at least, for someone to call in, then we're already missing opportunities to have that extremely important conversation with someone about the position that we're looking to fill. One other thing that I wanted to mention, there's lots of them that we could talk about here on that mobile-first strategy, but when it comes to communication with that individual, one best practice is to try to communicate with them through the channels that they came in on. So if they came in through Facebook, how can we continue to communicate with them through Facebook? If they came in through a mobile device, it could be through lots of different channels, but chances are text may be a great way to communicate with them because they're already on their device. So do you have an opt-in for people that fill in their information to get text messages, notifications, and to communicate in that way? So a few easy things that can be done there to make sure that we're using technology in a way that helps us create a better process, remove some friction, and hire more individuals. Okay, here's a good one. So a LinkedIn Fed question from their AI model. It said, here's how you can cultivate a strategic mindset for better hiring decisions. And then the specific sub point here was plan ahead. And so it's really talking about a pipeline where so many times we'll see a position open up and it'll remain open for a while, or whatever the case may be. It might be difficult to fill, but there's no pipeline there. It's, oh shoot, somebody left, we need to fill this position right away. How are we going to do it? And then the urgency sets in. So one way to prevent that from happening is to have a pre-existing pipeline already built. And there's two pieces to this pipeline that I think are really important for everyone to keep in mind. Is you have a visible pipeline, so candidates that you've engaged with in the past, or maybe a stack of resumes or leads that have come in that you know are there and they're visible and you can begin to work them. The other important piece that is not always thought about is that invisible pipeline. Well, what on earth is that and how do we do it? It is through employer branding. And so when it comes to recruitment marketing, yes, lead generation, getting candidates to raise their hand, all extremely important and valuable pieces of the process. However, also extremely important is making sure that individuals know who you are, and that out in the marketplace, that there's a good culture that people are aware of, and there's a value proposition for your company. So even though they haven't taken any action yet, if you have a good reputation out there, you're building an invisible pipeline. And so build that visible one, build that invisible one by getting your story out there. And video is just one great way to do that. So these are, once again, questions that AI has pulled together based off of trends, patterns, recognizing that individuals in the recruiting space are talking about these topics. And so I find it interesting. Like I said, there's a lot of controversy where some people are saying, well, why do you continue to feed the beast? They'll eventually replace jobs. But I'm playing around with it for now. I know it was a little bit different than what we normally do, but I still think it was really valuable to go over some of these top questions that we're seeing. And we know AI is going to continue to be a hot topic. So once again, I would encourage you, go listen into that Digging Deeper episode where we're covering what Randall Reilly's doing with AI, what others are doing with AI in the talent acquisition space. Check that out because we're going to be all learning together, and that's what it's all about. How do we improve the candidate experience and fill those much needed positions? Tune in next time. Thank you.